is Karen Combs. She's the Assistant Superintendent of Schools for the Lafayette School Corporation. She she graduated from college in Arkansas, grew up also in Wyoming, learned to ride a horse there and fly fish. So she's quite well-rounded. She taught 5th and 6th grades. She's taught risk education, coached cheerleading. When she moved to Indiana from Arkansas, she started out at the IPS, Indianapolis School System. She's been an assistant principal, a principal, and now assistant superintendent of the Lafayette School Corporation. She has one daughter who attends Lafayette Jeff High School. I know she's a singer, and she has 2 dogs. So Karen, finally, you're on.
Well, we call him Mr. Jim at school. He said I had an hour, so that's fine, isn't it? I'm just kidding. I taught 7th grade English, and when you teach 7th graders, you have to learn to be very flexible. So that's certainly not a problem at all. And I can kind of zip through this, although I have to tell you, this is my very favorite subject to talk about, which is the wonderful school system that you have right here in the Lafayette School. It has been a wonderful place to work. It has been a fantastic place to have my child, although, Emily, I need to see you afterwards because my daughter needs some of those study skills that you have, and I'd like for you to meet her because we just have grounded her from 3 missing assignments. So I am hopeful that maybe someone can give her some extra assistance. No, it really is a fantastic, fantastic place to work, and it's a real honor to be here with you today. I know you support our schools and support a lot of our kids. So we thank you very much for all that you do. I actually learned a little bit while getting ready to do this presentation because I didn't know much about the history of Lafayette schools, although I have been in the basement of where my office is in between Sunnyside and Murdoch, and there's these old books, like from forever ago, and I'm like, oh, they're antiques, let me look. And there truly are books from the 1800s, and it's names of teachers and how much they were paid and names of kids, and that's very interesting to me. But actually, it was known as the School City of Lafayette. It started in 1855, and we've only had 13 superintendents in all that time, which I thought was kind of interesting. Our past superintendent, and many of you probably know, Dr. Edward Eiler, and our current superintendent is Mr. Les Huddle. Have a school board with 7 members who meet twice a month, and I know they're looking for one, so if you're interested, let us know. We have some interesting facts about Lafayette school students. I have been here in the Lafayette area the last 11 years. And during that time, the face of our schools have changed. Right at the moment, we are 52% white. So we are a very, very diverse school system. About 70% of our kids qualify for free and reduced lunch. And that means only 30% of our families are really above the poverty level. However, we have some great news. Our graduation rate is almost 90%, and that has gone up substantially in the last couple of years. Our elementary schools, they now grade the schools, and so we have 6A and 1B elementaries. Our middle schools and high schools are C schools. The school grade is kind of figured from test scores and growth scores, and some of it's a little sketchy on how they figure it, but that's how they figure the school grades. We have 3 4-star schools, which are Glen Acres, Edgelea, and Murdoch, and currently they just announced, after I finished the presentation, the new 4-star schools. It's always a year behind. So Murdoch is still on the list. This is like their 4th year to receive that award, and they are now actually one of 8 schools in Indiana nominated for National Blue Ribbon status. So they're on their 2nd set of questions for the federal government, and there's possibility that they will be going to Washington, D.C., which is very exciting for us. Here are our elementary schools: Earhart, Edgelea, Glen Acres, Miami Miller, Murdoch. We have a new one, Oakland, and actually it's the Oakland High School. Is going to become Oakland Elementary again, and this fall, and Vinton. And so all of our elementary schools are configured kindergarten through 4th grade. We have about 3,200 students in grades K through 4, and it's kind of interesting because when you see our secondary, you'll notice it's a little bit smaller of a number. We have lots and lots and lots of little kids, and they keep coming. We have about 720 kindergartners. We started the year with about 695 of them. So we are actually ending the year with more kids than we started. So we have lots of little ones coming up, which is exciting, hence why we're getting to open new school. Kind of fun. I just moved here when they closed some schools. Some of you may remember that. And now we're getting a chance to reopen. So we're excited. We are considered an urban district. We are Title I funded, which means we have federal dollars for all of our elementary schools. Some of our schools have a high mobility rate, and I was surprised to learn almost 40% of the kids move in and out during the school year. I have been, along with being the assistant superintendent, I've been lucky to get to fill in at Miller Elementary for just this school year. And the first week after Christmas break, we had 29 new students. I was shocked. I went, where are you moving from? Kind of unusual. My parents didn't often move me in the middle of the school year. We have 2 middle level schools. We have a grade 5-6 configurator in Sunnyside. And now it's called Sunnyside Intermediate. We have 2 teacher teams. So the kids travel from class to class, but just between 2 teachers. So they have either humanities, which is English and social studies, or STEM, which is science and math. And we have about 1,000 kids there in the 5th, 6th building. And if you've ever been there at lunch, it's great fun. You can feel the energy in the building. And I always say, kids that age, they run everywhere they go. And they do. And they're always very excited. We are now able to offer our 5th and 6th graders recess because they're in that grade configuration instead of 6, 7, 8. And honestly, 5th graders and 6th graders still need recess. They need to run. Grade 7 and 8 attend Tecumseh Junior High across town with about 1,000 students. And then we have Lafayette Jefferson High School, one of our 2 high schools that we have. We have about a 45-year-old building, which is a beautiful building. It is aging a little bit, but it's a beautiful building housing almost 2,000 students. We have a wonderful performing arts center. If you haven't ever gone, I would highly suggest that you go. They have a wonderful spring show and a wonderful Christmas show. It's a beautiful auditorium, and now I have traveled all over the state to see lots of auditoriums because my daughter is in music. And many, many communities do not have as nice a facility as ours. We are very blessed. There's also a huge stadium there, a beautiful football stadium, so if you like football, come on out this fall. A great gym for basketball, and a planetarium, which I now have found out I've never been to, but the other day I assigned all the field trip requests for the district. Saw we've got a 3rd grade group going to the planetarium. I wrote the date on my calendar. I thought I need to go because I've never been to the planetarium. We have lots and lots of award-winning choirs, band, orchestra programs, and they've performed at a Winter Olympics, which I did not know, in various parades and in national and state competitions. Actually, and I know there's right that little chickie doodle right there, that's my girl. And they performed at nationals for show choir this last weekend. So I was in Chicago getting a chance to watch that and just amazed at the quality of musical performance of these students. And many of them now, I know a little bit about them. And they are not all from homes like my daughters. And sometimes it amazes me of how they overcome obstacles to be able to really shine as young men and women. It's neat. We also have great radio and TV programs, culinary arts, lots of foreign languages, including Mandarin, Chinese, Japanese, and we actually had to look for a Japanese teacher this year. I said, who speaks Japanese? But there are people who teach it, and Russian. We also have an engineering program called Project Lead the Way, which is a wonderful program for our students. We have a brand new fire and safety class and a CNA program where the kids actually come out of school with their CNA license or their EMT license. Several merit scholars, and you get to be in the presence of one today. We have 3 Presidential Teacher Award winners for math and science, which is amazing. Lots of dual credit classes, which is kind of a new thing. If you take certain classes, you can get high school credit and college credit all at the same time. So we actually have kids who are leaving high school with some college credits, and that's a wonderful start for them. Lots of clubs and extracurricular activities, and I did not realize how many state championships we had won in athletics. Lots and lots of them. We also have Oakland High School, which is a small school. They are currently now in the Oakland building, but they're going to be going to the Washington building, which is shared with Laura. And they have a lot more of an individualized curriculum for students. Lots and lots of community teachers come in. And it's been a wonderful opportunity. I've gotten to go to the graduation. If you ever get to go to a graduation and you want to see a moving experience, go there. The kids talk about all the things they've overcome to graduate from high school, and it's so very neat. We have lots and lots of positives in our school corporation. We have amazing, amazing teachers, very dedicated teachers. Used to be the principal at Glen Acres. If you've never been to Glen Acres, it's kind of all the way over across town. I had teachers who would come at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would try to beat them there. I had teachers leave at 3 o'clock in the morning. And oftentimes when I would stay late, midnight or 1, I'd get on the announcements and say, hey, I'm leaving, just want to let you know there's nobody in the office right now. Unbelievably dedicated people. We have lots and lots and even more of very talented students. We have about 90% of our third graders who are passing the third grade test for reading, which is very exciting. We have 250 volunteers every week in our schools for just one program called Read to Succeed, which I think personally is amazing. I think we should be in like Reader's Digest or on Fox News, but we haven't gotten there yet, but I think we could be. We have a food backpack program in all of our elementaries that many of our local churches partner with us. So we're able to send home, in about all of our buildings, about 70 backpacks go home with our students. It's about $1,200 of food for the school year. And it's extra things like kids can reheat or kids can open so that they have food on the weekends. And I have had children who would cry if they didn't get that backpack. That was very important to them. And one of them told me, he said, I hide it under my bed so that I can make sure that I can eat over the weekend. That program is very, very important to many of our kids. And I will tell you, I am still here in Lafayette. Really, I had planned on staying here 2 years and going back to the middle school and becoming a middle school principal someplace else, probably in Arkansas, which is where I wanted to go back home. But a few years ago, actually right when I first came, the community painted my school building. And we had 487 people on Martin Luther King Day. We painted that building in 3 hours, hadn't been painted in years. I went, in what other community would over 400 people come to your school and give their time to paint the school building? Cost my school nothing. It was amazing. I left after that experience and I thought, I don't know that I can ever leave this community. They are wonderful and they care about our kids. And so I'm still here because of that wonderful community support. I do have to tell you, we have some challenges and some of them are substantial. We have a new assessment that we are currently giving right now, which is why you couldn't go to Klondike. It's called the I-STEP. The I-STEP assessment this year is particularly rigorous. It is about, they're expecting kids to read about 3 grade levels higher than we've been teaching them. So our third graders are expected to read anywhere between a 6th to a 7th grade reading level. It's a little bit of a challenge because our third grade textbook is printed reading as a third grader. So we've had to find and kind of scramble for some new materials. We have had test scores in our school corporation with a high poverty schools of just about 90% of our kids are passing those I-STEP tests also. This year we anticipate the scores coming in 30 to 40 points below. I've had an opportunity to speak with Rocky Killian, who's the superintendent in West Lafayette. He also expects very, very low scores for his school district as well. So we are very concerned with this new rigorous test that the children are expected to do way more than they've ever been expected to do and maybe are quite ready for. We have a very large focus right now on assessment. Testing is very big. Sometimes it's very stressful for our students. This week, since we're giving the I-STEP, I had a young man come into my office, would not take his hands off of his face, was sobbing because the test was so hard. So it does concern me with what we're doing to our kids. Some of those wonderful rich lessons that you may remember from school, like history and science, we are not able to do as much of because we are busy trying to help children learn to pass these tests. So anytime you see a local legislator, you might want to mention to them that it's very, very important that our kids know where they live and can point Indiana out on a map, that they know about why our country was founded and how we got here, and why the United States is here and that we want to keep it free, because it worries me that we're going to have a group of kids who can fill in A, B, C, or D on a test, but they're not going to know anything about our country and about the people who have fought for our country and about the reasons why we've had those wars. And so that is a deep concern of mine. We do have a bit of precarious financial position. I saw some things in the newspaper today. Legislation has not been very kind to our urban schools, and right at the moment, it looks like Lafayette School Corporation will get some money, but they're also predicting that we have many more kids than we think we're going to have. So we think we're going to lose. Property tax caps. This year we have a $1,300,000 loss from property tax caps that we won't get back, so we have to take out of other areas, usually our building fund. We have a lot of urban schools, and we have under-resourced kids come in from behind. We need lots of dollars to help them catch up, so that's pretty tough, and we always need more volunteers, which brings me to my last slide. How can you help us? Well, one thing you can do just from your house that hopefully wouldn't cost you any money at all is if you use Campbell's soup, or you save box tops, or you see those little box tops on the Pillsbury things and on the biscuits. If you buy any of those products, cereal, save them. I'm sure many of you have grandchildren who probably are collecting, but if you do not have anywhere for those to go, we would love to have them. Those little box tops are 10 cents each, and you would not believe how much we can get out of those. So feel free to save them. You can drop them by any of our Lafayette schools, or you can find me at the central office on Cason Street, and I would love to take those for you. You can volunteer for Read to Succeed. United Way has a wonderful program, 1 hour a week in our elementary schools. We will suck you in and make you feel like a part of the family, and then we might just keep you, like we've done with Mr. Jim, and you become a part of our staff. But we would love to have anyone who wants to read with our kids. It's very important and a great reward. Big brothers, big sisters, come to have lunch once a week with kids. You can always just come to one of our schools and say, listen, I would love to help you. What can I do? I had some neighbors when I was at Glen Acres who volunteered to help me with landscaping. And I tell you, nobody weeds. That's the principal's job. And so I used to weed flower beds on the weekends. It was nice to have a little help. So we would love to have you. There's lots of things that you can donate. I have one person at Miller who has knitted scarves and hats for our kids. And they just do that in their free time or go to Goodwill and find some. And that is a wonderful thing for our students. Tools for Schools at the Salvation Army. That's kind of a one-time-a-year thing. You can always drop school supplies off there. Our kids always need them. And then if you ever are interested and you have a particular interest, you want to sponsor some kids. We have kids who sometimes can't pay $1 or $2 for a field trip, and we know that going to the Columbian Park Zoo or the Indianapolis Zoo is good for kids. We want them to go to Conner Prairie and see more of our history. High school, we have kids who can't afford choir costumes or band instruments, orchestra, or the athletics fees. And so if you ever have a particular interest, my name is Karen Combs. You can give me a call. I will hook you up with the right child or the right people, and we will find a spot for whatever you can donate or whatever you have an interest in. We would love to have you active and involved in our schools. But if you don't have time, cut out those box tops and soup labels, because we would love to have those as well. I appreciate your time and for you to listen to me. I hope you learned a little bit about our school district. It's been a real honor to speak in front of you. Thank you for all you do for our community.
Thank you, Karen. I consider you a good friend. I know we've worked together at Miller for a while, but we've got something here for you. If your daughter gets grounded a little more, perhaps you can use this light to help her find the way. So good luck with that. Thank you for being here, Karen.